Robinson's Land Corporation, one of the largest real estate developers in the Philippines and a subsidiary of the JG Summit Holdings Incorporated. Through the years, RLC has established a name in the real estate industry as it remains on top of the game in laying out the most well-designed and exceptional lifestyle spaces to the market. Its wide array of prime residential developments across the country has inspired many individuals to explore opportunities that provide a rewarding lifestyle experience. Being one of BCI Asia's top 10 property developers in the Philippines, RLC developments have been highly regarded by prestigious international and local property award-giving bodies. With close to 3 decades of experience in property development, RLC has made a legacy that is strongly associated with good value and high-quality developments that our employees, customers, business partners, and shareholders can be proud of. It has evolved into a property developer that continues to draw interesting blueprints of fresh concepts that go beyond the ordinary. Concepts that have the power to make lives anew. Concepts that create a sense of fulfillment to families, professionals, and young investors. In the years to come, RLC is envisioned to reach greater heights as it continues to expand its widespread portfolio of innovative developments that have made a big impact in the lives of Filipino families. We are RLC. Your dreams, our foundation.
Happy afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Meetups by RLC Designer Series. It's me again, Heina Contina, your partner in this webisode. Just like our weekly habit, do not forget to like, share, and make a watch party for our friends and families can catch up on today's episode of Meetups by RLC. With the rise in numbers of people becoming plantitos and plantitas, introducing greens as decorative elements in homes has become a trend. Other than wellness benefits it offers, it gives your home basement the landscape treatment it deserves. So to all our plant parents who are watching right now, this episode is for you. We are very much excited to share with you how integrating green spaces and introducing plant babies can level up your condominium aesthetics and how it can be beneficial for you. So stick around and get ready for a fresh episode only here at Meetups by RLC. One of the many advantages of owning a condominium unit is the freedom to introduce different elements that would complement your condo aesthetics. Likewise, you can get your creative juices flowing to picture your dream green unit. This is the perfect time to envision your dream condo by transforming and integrating nature in your space. Time to level up your condo by including nature to your humble abode. If you're not quite yet sure where and how to start your green journey, worry no more. We have invited landscape architect Brian Sabido from Spina, Paris Spina and Associates Manila to share with us their expertise and best tips in introducing ornamental green spaces in your condominiums. Also, to give our viewers a short background about our guest speaker for today, Sir Brian has worked with Robinson's Land in our Regents Manila Bay and Signa Designer Residences projects. Now, without further ado, let us all welcome landscape architect Brian Sabido to our episode.
Good day, Heina. Thank you for having me, and hello to our viewers.
Hello, Sir Brian, and welcome to Meetups by RLC. I know our viewers are excited about this episode because we have such a timely and interesting topic for you all. To start off our conversation, Sir Brian, a lot of people are now jumping in on the trend of integrating plants and greens in their homes. Some even label themselves as plantitos and plantitas due to being plant parents. And guys, if hindi nyo na itatanong, I am also a plantita. Nakakatuwa naman kasi talaga. This trend, in my opinion, is a great way to promote nature in our spaces. Correct, Sir Brian?
Yes, it is. It's a great way to promote nature in our spaces. It's doable, it's fun, and you're learning things about plants along the way. So, what's interesting is I understand why this trend is happening now because when we were in the middle of the quarantine, of the community
Mm-hmm.
quarantine, I was uh, I was daydreaming about my province, the natural setting of the province. So I understand why this trend is happening now because I think it's a manifestation of a deep-seated longing to be close to nature. So this trend, it reminds us that we are meant to be close to nature. And yet, for city dwellers, for us, we're disconnected from nature. And I say this in the context of Manila because we don't really have enough open spaces. We don't have enough opportunity to immerse ourselves in nature. Ideally,
Mm-hmm.
kasi, ideally, a person should have access to a large park where you can immerse yourself in nature within walking distance. So nature should be accessible that way. We should be close to nature that way. So this trend of integrating plants and greens into our homes is a great way to promote nature in our living spaces, and it helps satisfy our deep longing to be close to nature.
While our viewers are now integrating different kinds of houseplants in every corner of their condominiums, they're not just adding greenery in their interiors. Having ornamental plants can be beneficial in so many ways. Just to share with you and with our viewers, I have come across a lot of online articles that plants have the following benefits, and this is scientifically proven. Studies suggest that it has overall effect on our physical well-being. It also shows that indoor plants boost mood, productivity, reduces stress, and cleans indoor air by absorbing harmful toxins in your body.
Yes, it's definitely more than just adding greenery, even more than just improving the air quality.
And to add to that, according to what I've also read, it also improves the aesthetic appeal. Plants are pleasing to the eyes. It adds variety and it enhances the appeal and ambience to a plain area.
Yes, having plants in your living spaces, I think it balances the hard, cold concrete surfaces. And that helps because we live in a concrete jungle. Or maybe we could say it softens the hard geometry,
Mhm.
the geometric surfaces of our living spaces. So, in that way, we do improve the look of our spaces.
Sir Brian, other than those mentioned, would you like to share to our viewers why having indoor plants are beneficial?
Well, you can also look at the trend of integrating plants into our living
Mhm.
spaces as a hobby. So there's this element of excitement and it stirs your curiosity, and that's what makes it fun. It's beneficial because it's stimulating, okay? And it's not like other hobbies because you are actually taking care of a living thing, like taking care of a pet. So taking care of a living thing, plants, is a different kind of experience that is beneficial to our wellness. And to add, I heard before that you can teach someone, like your children, your kids, how to take care of pets by first teaching them how to take care of plants first. So with plants, you have that kind of opportunity.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Sir Brian. Now that we have already established why adding plants in our homes is good for our well-being, can you share with us some important concepts that plantitos and plantitas should take note of when we are integrating plants in our condominiums? From a designer's perspective, can you give us any recommendations on how and where we should place our plants in our units?
Well, number one, it's important to be reminded that indoor plants do need sunlight. People might get the impression that indoor plants do not need sunlight, but that's not true. Some sources might say certain type of plants can survive in fluorescent lights, but the thing is, would you want to open your lights all the time?
Nako, I am also guilty of this. All this time, I really thought na pag indoor plant nga, it doesn't need sunlight. sunlight anymore. At least now I know. I am really learning from our episode today.
We should also remember that each condo unit is unique. Some units receive more sunlight than others depending on their location and the orientation of the tower. Maybe some units face the sunrise or the sunset while others do not, for example. Owners can take note of where their unit is exposed to sunlight. Basically, the spaces near the windows. Also, throughout the year, the angle of exposure to sunlight may change. You might have a bright spot during September to December, but that same spot is shaded during the summer. So you need to think of those things also.
Sir Brian, again, this is something that I can relate to. Just to share also, recently I had this conversation with one of my neighbors in the condominium who lives in the other wing naman. I asked him why mas maganda yung plants niya considering nasabay naman naming binili. I believe this explains why.
If your unit receives light indirectly, you might want to Google lists for low light house plants. So that's the name, low light. I say low light because not all indoor plants can tolerate low light levels. Okay? So example, cactus, succulents, San Franciscos they're known indoor plants, but they require a few hours of direct exposure. These are positioned right at the window. So the best sunlight exposure for low light plants would be indirect bright exposure, which would probably be right beside the window, not right in front, but at the side of the window. So that's the sweet spot for low light plants. The second that comes to mind is the wind, okay? So that's because we landscape architects consider wind as a factor when we specify planting in roof deck gardens. And I think it's the same for condo units. Some people do keep their units open for cross ventilation. Generally, the higher your unit, the greater the wind. Okay?
Yes.
You can refrain from tall, slender plants like yung dracena, yung dragon tree, or potted trees kasi they have that slim profile. So you have to consider that. You might go for smaller plants instead, more compact plants, heavier containers.
I think, Sir Brian, this is also one of the significant factors that a plant mama or plantito must consider. Pero sometimes kasi we get too excited of getting plants kaya nakakalimutan natin to. Ako, I am really guilty of this, but I'm not proud of it. What I'm trying to say here is, if you're a plant parent or if you're planning to be one, please consider all these things, the sun, the orientation of your unit, and the wind. All this will significantly affect our experience. Correct, Sir Brian?
Yes, Aina. So take note and observe the unique characteristics of your unit in terms of sunlight and wind. Okay? And I think the last I could say is we should consider plants that is harmful to pets, your cats and dogs. So when I say harmful, I mean toxic when ingested. There are a few plants that are considered as toxic, such as the dragon tree, the Dracena again, the ficus species, aka the Balete family, such as the rubber tree. Yeah, I think it's because of the sap of the rubber tree. In landscape architecture, it is widely known that the dumb cane, which is Dieffenbachia maculata, is poisonous. So it's called dumb cane because if you, let's say, if a child puts it in her mouth, she'll feel numb. So hence the term dumb cane.
Okay.
So also I came across a source that says the popular snake plant is toxic. And if you have a pet, you need to consider that. Not only pet owners, but when you have children around, you never know when your child gets too curious. We know very well that toddlers can put things in their mouth, diba? So you have to consider that also.
Thank you for sharing this to all our viewers, Sir Brian. This is really significant considering the safety of our pets and, of course, our toddlers. To all our plant parents, you really have to check is safe or not.
Also, the selection of plants also depends on what your furniture dictates. It's best to jive with your interiors. You don't want the interiors to adjust to the plants.
Correct.
Let the plants fit into what's already there. Just because the living room is big, it doesn't necessarily mean you can put a potted tree. So consider that also.
So, Brian, is there really such a thing as too much plants at home?
Of course, Aina. To me, yes, I'd rather keep things simple, especially if you are just starting to be a plant parent. You'll have to be practical in the aspect of maintenance. Too many plants might just become clutter, or it's gonna give you stress. I'm saying this because when you're outside, we are visually overloaded. There's so many gigantic billboards, signages, and the busyness of the urban setting. So when you're at home, you want your place to be the opposite of that busyness. So to have a relaxing and visually pleasing living space. So in my opinion, keep things simple.
Given this, Sir Brian, what plant can you suggest in the kitchen area?
To me, the kitchen is the busiest part of the unit. Okay, because when someone cooks, their hands just fly everywhere. They're opening cabinets, they're reaching out for pans and whatnot. Okay, to avoid knocking them over, maybe I would go for Fitonia. Fitonia is it's dense and it's like a carpet. So you want that type of profile for your kitchen. The idea is compact.
Sir Brian, we're done with the kitchen area. What can you suggest naman po in our dining area?
For the dining area, I think it really depends on the size of your dining room area, but you have to consider the type of movement that happens in that space. The same way we consider the movement in our kitchens. So, example, if you want to put plants on your table, that's fine. But consider the movement of eating and passing plates, passing food around. So that you have to consider that. And you also have to consider people moving in and out of chairs, going to the kitchen, washing their hands, coming back to their chairs. So you might want to keep your planting minimal. Okay? You want the plant to work for you, not to become a possible hazard. Okay? So don't let the natural flow of your dining area activities adjust to the plant. Okay? Simply keep the plant out of the way. Yun.
Ayan, so we're done now with the kitchen area. We're done with the dining room. Sure, our viewers would also want to decorate their bedrooms with plants. Any recommendations, sir?
Okay, so for the bedroom, I think the bedroom is the best place to put plants because the bedroom is a very personalized space. Okay, and it is probably the brightest spot. So there you can put your favorite plants in. And I guess the only plant that I wouldn't recommend are the large spiky plants. So for obvious reasons, okay? So again, like dragon tree, I'm sorry for the dragon tree, but it's spiky. So, you never know. You turn your head and you poke your eyes, something like that.
So what about our parents naman, sir, who would like to include some plants in their kids' room? Any tips, Sir Brian?
So when children are playing, they can get reckless and accidentally poke their eyes out. And you don't want plants accidentally tipping over or falling off a ledge because your children are playing. So you might want to minimize the number of plants and keep the plants at floor level. Again, stay away from toxic plants.
Thank you very much for sharing that to all our viewers, Sir Brian. What about the toilet and bath area naman?
Okay, so for the bathroom, I think it's the most challenging part. Okay, it's probably the darkest part of the place, unless you're lucky enough to have a bathroom where sunlight comes through a small window. Okay, if your bathroom is dark, I would only recommend probably bromeliads because bromeliads can take the humidity. So, because of course you've noticed when you take a bath, you have the steam is there, so that's a lot of humidity.
Like every other responsible plantitos and plantitas, owning such foliage and the pointed out areas in our condominium needs proper upkeep and care. Correct, Sir Brian?
Yes, that's correct, Haina.
So, for the benefit of our viewers, can you share with us some tip or two with the proper maintenance of our plant babies?
Okay, well, just be reminded that taking care of an indoor plant is different than taking care of an outdoor plant. Okay, it's going to take more dedication, so make sure you're fully dedicated. The indoors is considered a special condition in landscape architecture because the plants are subject to low levels of lighting and their growth is restricted to the container. So, in other words, it's not exactly the natural environment of a plant. So, indoor plants are acclimatized to those special conditions. When I say acclimatize, it's basically adjusting to the conditions. So, a acclimatized plant means an adjusted plant. Applying that concept of acclimatization, take note of the lighting levels of where you acquire your plants. Okay, where you get your plants. Is it from a nursery or from a plantita? Okay, so it would be perfect if the place where you bought the plant, like the nursery, more or less matches the sunlight levels of your condo unit. So if they match, then the adjusting is reduced. Okay, the stress of the plant of relocating is reduced. So if you bought a plant in a nursery that is dark, okay, for example, but when you bring it to your house and you put it in a very bright spot, okay, maybe the plant won't survive. So that's you have to understand that concept of the plant adjusting. So you want to reduce the plant's adjustment when you source your plants. So there.
So you heard it, guys. Becoming a plant parent is not easy. Just like a relationship, it takes time, it takes effort. Dapat ready ka din talagang maging plant mama. Now, Sir Brian, that we've talked about placing plants in the condominium interiors, how about the exterior of the condominium, the amenities, the open area, the garden spaces? I think people would love to have green landscape in their prospect condominium so they get to have a view of nature in their urban home. Correct, Sir Brian?
Yes, of course.
So if I am hunting for a condo, how important is a development's landscaping before I consider investing in a condominium? Or should it even be a part of my considerations list?
Okay. Well, we can emphasize the importance of landscapes in condo development when you look at the aspect of reducing stress. Okay. So we all know reducing stress is very important to us who live in Manila. We already experience a lot of stress commuting, the heat, the busyness. So why is it important to consider in hunting for a condo? The landscape can reduce the levels of things that can cause us stress. So first, landscapes filters air pollution. Okay, it improves air quality, right?
Mhm.
So we hear this a lot, but allow me to try to emphasize that through my experience. The first time I visited Manila, coming from the province, I was 12 years old. I got sick. I had a high fever. The thing is, I remember that experience so well because it spoke to me about how polluted the air of Manila is. That's because my body is adjusting to the pollution levels. Okay? Because I just cleansed my lungs in the province, right? So
Correct.
for yes, so for a person like me who knows what it's like to live in the province, I've come to realize how polluted the air of Manila is like. Okay? So can you imagine how important it is to have lush landscapes to filter the air and improve its quality?
No, Sir Brian, I thought it was just me who experienced such. Just to share also, I was born and raised in Bicol, and whenever I spend summer in the province, I also feel sick the moment I would go back here in Manila.
Mm. Okay, so there you go. You see, it's very important to emphasize how the landscapes improve air quality. Okay, so the second is landscapes absorb noise. Okay, noise is a source of stress. Okay, noise is pollution, right?
Mhm.
So we might have forgotten that, okay, because we got used to it. So plants dissipate noise, okay, they absorb. So the more plants, the lesser the noise. The lesser the noise, the lesser the stress. Okay. So aside from noise, thirdly, landscapes reduce glare. Okay. So glare, the bright light from concrete surfaces that strains your eyes. So glare is a source of stress, right? So the more plants you have, the lesser the glare. Okay. And not to mention the greenness of the plants being easy and relaxing to your eyes. So the more landscape, okay, the lesser the air pollution, that's one. The lesser the noise pollution, that's two, and lesser the glare. So which equates to lesser stress. So the healthier the residents will be if you have lush landscapes. Of course, there are other benefits, such as bringing in birds, wildlife,
Mhm.
butterflies. It's very nice to hear birds in the morning, and it's also nice to smell aromatic plants once in a while. Okay, so plants can heighten your sense of season. Okay, so example, white champaka and kamaning smell sweet during the summertime. So when you smell them, uh, you'll think, hey, it's summertime already. So plants can stimulate your senses that way. So that's another benefit. Um,
Mhm.
okay, last but not the least, landscapes are great social settings, right? It's a best place, it's a best way for a chance encounter with neighbors you can jag with, right? It's really sad if we remain strangers in a condo development, okay? So the best place to meet people is at the landscape, right? And remember, like what I said a while ago, we greatly lack public spaces, right? So having a lush landscape in the condo development addresses that, right? So these landscape spaces is where we get the opportunity for passive and active engagement. So children need the play space, and we need that chance to relax in a place other than our units, right? So passive and active engagement, it's all part of our wellness, our health. And again, it's also about reducing stress. So to me, a development with lush landscapes is a healthy development, and a healthy development means healthy residents.
Sir Brian, given all those you discussed about how important landscape is, allow me to take this opportunity to share with all our viewers today that RLC residences offer projects with ample greeneries. We have Shera Valley Gardens in Rizal, we have Regents Manila Bay in Manila, the Magnolia Residences in New Manila, and of course, the Tryon Towers in BGC. Sir, I have several questions pa sana, but as much as I wanted
Mm.
to extend our exciting conversation, this episode has come to an end. So before we end this interview, can you leave our viewers a few words?
For all the plant parents out there, the plantitos and plantitas, thank you for promoting the integration of nature into our living spaces. Have fun with what you do, experiment more, okay? And enjoy the learning process that comes with it, right? And I would also like to end with with challenging plant parents to support growing and distributing endemic and indigenous indoor species.
Thank you for sharing your time with us, Sir Brian.
Okay, thank you again for having me, Haina, and goodbye to the viewers.
Bye, Sir Brian. And that is how you integrate green spaces in your homes. I hope everyone took note of all the tips Sir Brian shared with us. Thank you also to all our viewers for being a part of this episode. This truly has been a fresh episode, especially for our plantitos and plantitas. That was Meetups by RLC Designer Series Integrating Green Spaces in Your Home. Once again, my name is Heine Pansina, and thank you for sharing your time with us. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes and subscribe now as we release new episodes weekly. Only here at Meetups by RLC.